Hi, beautiful people. Good morning. Welcome to another amazing episode with Ibukunoluwa. Today with me, I have Folakemi Oloye. Folakemi is one of those girls that I saw on Instagram and I was like, no, I need to become this girl's friend. She just knows how to play the game. Like, she needs to be my friend. Funny enough, I met you the first time I came to you and I was like, I'd like to have a conversation with you. So I typically reached out to Folakemi. And interestingly, if you know about the industry, not everybody is open. So I just reached out to Folakemi randomly, like, I'd like to talk to you. And she was very open. Guess what? She paid for my lunch that day. I felt so like, hey, me that came to meet somebody, they're still paying for my lunch. But that's the kind of person Folakemi is. She's very open. She's warm. And honestly, it's a privilege to tell your story, Folakemi.
Thank you so much.
I really, I followed you for a bit before I reached out to you. And, from following you, I could see the depth that you carried. It wasn't just about Instagram glam. It wasn't just about, I could see that a lot has gone into this. And that was one of the reasons why I reached out. So today, we just want to hear your story. We want you to tell that girl out there that is wanting to be Folakemi. Obviously, they cannot be Folakemi, but they can learn from Folakemi. What it has taken Folakemi to get to where she is today.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And that introduction is so beautiful, so warm. Like when I was listening to it, I'm like, oh my goodness, is that me?
Yes, it's you.
But thank you very much. That's really, really nice and sweet. I appreciate it. So where am I starting the story from?
Well, start from where you started.
From where
How
I
you started.
Yes. Okay. So I would say that, especially for someone that is starting out, because I understand how scary it can be. I remember I had decided, so first and foremost, I need to really be honest, like I'm a spiritual person. I'm led a lot by my faith. Okay. And my faith is a big driver in my decision making.
Okay.
So typically the way I make my decisions is faith first. So I get a sense of direction from faith. And then once I have that sense of direction, I want to distill it down into action steps.
Wow.
So when I want to distill into action steps, I then go more knowledge based. And when I say going more knowledge based, it means like I would go like research, education, whatever it is that I need to do, what information I require to be able to do what I want, then I'll take that. So for example, I'd decided that first, I didn't even know that interior design was a business. I can't even lie.
Why does it sound like me? I didn't know.
I didn't know anybody would be willing to pay for the service. I thought it was just one of those things.
That was how many years ago, though?
Oh, no, that was a while back. So this would have been like maybe 12, 13 years ago. And the reason why is because I thought that the only way to get income from interior design was from selling something.
Yeah.
So you had to sell furniture, sell a product, mark it up, and then that's how you make your income. I just felt like the interior design service itself seemed like such an intangible that I wasn't sure that people would be willing to pay for the
like
service.
Nigeria as at
Exactly.
That time. I can imagine.
So, and even when I had researched it for the people that other companies abroad, I didn't necessarily. So when I was checking their models, I would see them say all kinds of things about what their models were like. And obviously, I just felt
wondering, how is this going to work in Nigeria?
Because I was just thinking, like, in Nigeria, who is interested? Like, people want to pay for things that they can see.
True.
But again, I realized that sometimes, a lot of times, like when we start with the spiritual, which is a sense of direction, and we pray through, what happens is that things begin to line up. And then things will begin to line up. And in the process of lining up, you get the necessary information. The other thing I will add to it is that I feel like a lot of times we're trying to refine things. We want to get it right before we launch. And in the process of trying to get it right, fear can overcome you. Perfectionism can overcome you. And just that sense of urgency, you lose it. Now you lose it, and then you now see somebody else doing exactly what you were thinking of, and a part of you is pain, like, oh, but I was thinking about this. I thought about this like a couple of years ago. And one of the things I've also learned is that a lot of times, like because I realized when I started interior design, when I go back and I look at other people, like the years when they started, there are a lot of people that started about the same time.
True.
And so I believe
Very true.
so I believe that sometimes what happens is that sort of like there is an opening, and then there's this opening for a business to erupt. Now, if you don't follow that sense of urgency and try to get that, that thing can pass. And maybe the person eventually now tries, but by that time, the momentum has already left. So there is a place for planning, but there's also a place for courage. Yes, courage. Step out, put your feet in the water, and you just be surprised where it has taken you. One of the things I would say about my stories, because I've told my story a bit, but I want to tell it from a different angle. I remember.
Please. So you had that first on.
Yeah. So I remember that when I was starting her out, I had I'd met up with I would say like an egbon of sorts. They're a couple that do business together, and I admire them a lot. So I had a chat, and he said, "Oh, but Folakemi, have you ever thought, what would you like to model your business against?" And it was the first light bulb moment. I was like, who do I want to model my business against? And when I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm going to look for that one person. Of course, there were so many like more attractive interior design firms and the likes. And I looked at everybody's model, and I decided like, what model did I want? And the reason why I was able to define my model was because I'd gone to like for an entrepreneurship course at the Lagos Business School.
Okay.
And when I'd gone for that course,
So that was before you started or after you started?
So after I started, I'd done Teal Harmony for like a year and a half or two before I went for that course.
Fantastic.
But also I had a background in a social enterprise called Wave. Okay. And one of the Wave things, it was a startup, and one of the things in startup community at the time was scaling. Okay. How are you able to build businesses that can scale? How do you build businesses that outlive you? But the major focus around them was scaling. And when you think about interior design, I'd never necessarily seen anybody that thought of approach interior design from a scaling perspective.
Yeah, true.
And so I already had that in one hand, right? Then I went to Lagos Business School, and they taught us. And when I came out of there, one thing that also came out of it was legacy. But before legacy, how do you build a business that does not revolve around you? And
that's the work.
Yes. How do you build a business that does not revolve around you? How do you build a business that, should anything happen, that business is able to sustain itself and run itself? And at the end of the day, you get a reward from it, because after a while, obviously you get your salaries paid, right? But if the business is able to run besides you, you can also get your hands into other interests. Yeah. And I find that a lot of interior designers, because we're creative people, we have so many interests. Yes. We have so many interests. There's so much to us, and there's so much that is untapped, and so much that we still want to do.
Very true.
That you have to be sure that you don't end up being trapped into just one expression of yourself.
Becoming an employee of the company.
There you go. and honestly, there's also a part of being, I feel like at some point you become an employee. Yeah. And then after a while, you can then fully become a founder. Yeah. So going for that course really, really helped me. So now I had scaling on one hand, and then on the second hand, I had doing a business that didn't revolve around me. Yeah. And so those two things I held on to. But I remember in class,
when did you eventually get it right? Yeah, I'm sure it didn't start with you getting it right.
So yes. So I remember when I was in class, I kept asking questions and I kept telling, the lecturers. And obviously, interior design is such an interesting business. Like
Right.
it's very niche. And so if you're not in it, it's very difficult to solve the problems that
Yes.
exist in interior design.
Yes. Very
And so you
true.
had all these consultants, all these people that knew everything about business in different aspects. But when it came to interior designing, it just seemed a little bit like,
What is
So when I would ask questions in class, they were like, hey, it can work. There are people that it works for. And I'm like, no, but I know most interior design companies that I know, like they end up having to be very boutique, very very revolving around the owner. And I was like, well, because a lot of owners start off as interior designers and that's what they want. Like it's the passion that led them to even
True.
doing a business in the first place. But that conversation I had with my Egbon made me to go and do my research.
Okay.
And I came by an interior design firm called Rockwell Group. And it's led by David Rockwell.
Okay. Where's that?
They're in America.
Okay.
And I'm sure that the guy doesn't know I exist in one part of the world.
No, I'm sure very soon you'll know.
But I trolled that company. I not trolled them, but like I followed them everywhere. Their projects, their team, the setup. I researched them like I was studying a book. Researched him, researched the company, all of that, because they had a model that I liked and a model that I originally wanted. And it supported the two things that I told you that were my drivers, which was a business that does not revolve around me and scaling. And so that is something that has helped me. And I would say that just being able to define that path allowed me to know how I wanted to progress, so that, and I won't lie, I've been tempted so many times. Like I've seen other like sort of like boutique styles.
Yeah.
I've seen different styles.
And it seems like they're moving way faster.
Yes, and I've seen different styles of the business of interior design, but just the fact that I identified those people, and every time I go back to look at their story, and every time I look at their story, they're bigger every time. So I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing. They're getting it right. And so I have, obviously, that's not just where it stopped. I've worked with like multiple consultants across different aspects of the business to be able to put structures, SOPs. Sometimes they would advise, but because I have better insights into the business, I'm able to say, how about we go about it this way? But yeah, I would say that primarily that's one aspect of my story that I've never really shared, about how I was able to first know what my drivers were and then determine how I wanted to approach the business of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you had how would I put it, like a foundation to build on.
Yes.
Because I think for most of us, one of the things that is missing is that foundation. We just jump into it because we're passionate.
Yes.
But you had this foundation. So outside having that foundation, what were the challenges you faced, even with that foundation?
And the foundation did not solve the challenges. Well,
because I can imagine.
The foundation did not necessarily, the foundation is good because it gives you direction, it shows you where to go, blah, blah. But there is the aspect of actually doing the business as well. And in the business of it, there are definitely quite a number of challenges. So definitely, in Nigeria, when it comes to interior design,
Tell me.
in other
I can connect when you're saying it.
In other countries, the interior designer is not a generalist.
Yep.
In other countries, you have the contractor, you have the interior designer. The contractor is the one that executes the design. The interior designer is the designer, quality control, ensuring that the design that has done is, followed and all whatnot. In Nigeria, on the other hand, you find out that
you're everything.
You are everything.
To logistic agents.
You are everything. You end up having to, and in a way it's good because it helps you to be rounded. It helps you to be
Well,
rounded. Yes, because just this morning,
technically,
yeah, because just this morning I was speaking
but it
to.
can be draining.
It is. It is. But if you approach it with curiosity, as opposed to it being draining, it looks like I'm getting more knowledge.
Okay.
So just this morning, an interior designer friend of mine that is in Kenya. So in Kenya, the weather is perfect. So they
Okay.
typically don't have to deal with air conditioners.
Oh,
Now they're doing a project and the client requires air conditioners. So she reaches out to me and says, Folakemi, you guys always deal with air conditioners in Nigeria. And this is my challenge. How do I approach it? And I was talking her through it. And I was surprised how much I knew
about
on how to solve her problem, how much I knew about air conditioners, so even like what piping measurements to use and the likes. And for me, when that conversation ended, I paused and I thought back to myself. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now that's what the Nigerian factor does for you, because
Sure.
you work
Makes
with a
you quite
plumber.
rounded.
You work with a plumber. You must know.
You have to.
If not, they will
'Cause
do
if
the
you
project.
don't
It's your
know-
name on the line, and the client will not say, "But you're the designer." The client is like, "I gave you the whole
gave you
project.
the
Your
work,
your
yeah.
goal. You have to deliver on it." So you end up finding out the weirdest things that you learn from. However,
Yeah.
in learning that, I think that one of the things that also needs to happen was, I remember my first couple of projects.
Yeah.
You would get a contractor, you would pay them for works to be done. First, sometimes it's referral.
So I think the problem is they don't see themselves as contractors.
Yes,
They
you are
see
right.
themselves as artisans.
You are right. And even being
And
an
I think
artisan,
that's-
being an artisan is a fantastic thing, because a function of craftsmanship and specialty. So there's also the mindset.
Globally, the African mindset.
Yes. So now you're taking me into different places. So I'll go to this African mindset. I have a problem with it. And it's a challenge I've always wanted to solve, which was,
And we
how
really
do we
need to
take
solve it,
pride
actually.
in the fact that I work with my hands
Yeah.
is a respectable job.
Yes.
It's a job that feeds me, feeds
Honestly,
my family, can make me super wealthy if I wanted to. As opposed to, oh, is it because you went to university and me, I went to school SAT, so that makes you better than me?
Yeah.
Or is it because somebody is wearing a shirt and a tie, then that person is better than me because I'm wearing overalls? And I think that mindset shift really needs to happen. We need to come to a place where even us as a people, as the consumer of the service, we need to respect the work.
Yes.
We need to
What they
treat
bring
the
to the
people with
table.
honor. And then we need our people as well to understand that the work that I do is an honorable work. And it's work that is required, it is necessary. If you look at this whole AI situation that is happening, when people talk to me and they say, oh, robotics and everything, I'm like, yeah, robotics, fine. But guess what? It's going to come to a time, because everybody is going tech now. We're going to need people.
Yeah.
We're going to need people. We're going to need electricians. We're going to need people that know how to do electrical work. We're going to need people that can install, that know how to do coupling. We're going to need plumbers. We're going to need technical people. And so it's a joke on us not to honor these tradespeople, not to see their value, and to even have people say, I came out of school and I decided that, you know what, I like plumbing, and that's what I want to do. I have a friend of mine that used to work with First Bank. Used to work with First Bank, I think First Bank Capital, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the First Bank arms. He's a plumber today.
Really?
Yes. And guess what? Call out fee. You'll swear it. That's before he will even show up in Nigeria. And there are still many people that are still looking up and down saying, oh, they want that, they want this. But he likes the job. He sees it as something that is honorable, that is a source of income. And I honor him every day. Wow. So a lot of times I feel like there's a mindset shift that needs to happen. And I really hope that
definitely.
I really hope that, there's more, I'm more intentionality around it.
So maybe it's a conversation we need to start having.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we need to start pushing that.
Absolutely.
Because I think one of the problems we have too, there's no good synergy between the contractors and the design industry. The contractors typically feel like, oh, they're using us because they have the leverage of maybe education and their connections, and they were just the back enders. Because sometimes, you give someone a job, something is done over and over, and then you wonder, how would you make this kind of mistake? And for me, I think the depth is more from a place of bitterness. I don't know how to put it, but it's from a place of, I'm being used. They feel they're used rather than there is synergy. There is, what we're doing is a symbiotic thing. As I'm giving, they're giving. We're working together to achieve greatness. So that conversation, like you said, we need to have it.
I totally agree with that. But, I feel like, there's sort of an adage that says that sort of like the adult in the relationship is the one that is responsible. In this case, I think the interior designer is the adult in the relationship, and I think they're responsible for making our tradespeople, our artisans, feel respected and honored.
True.
Chances are a lot of us treat them as we're using you or we're doing you a favor to bring you on the job, forgetting that we equally need them.
Yeah.
If you see me on site, and I'm not trying to blow my trumpet, but if you see me on site, very rarely will I stand up and greet my artisans. I always will do like a little courtesy. Always, because first off, there are quite a number of them that are older than I am.
Yeah.
Of course, don't get me wrong, there are days when I'm livid, like, how could you have done this? Do you understand? And I'm upset. But even in those days, I'll still call back and apologize. But one of the things I try to do is to make them feel honored, make them feel like you're a part of the team. I need you even as much as you need me. And it's a synergy, like it's a balance. We're working together to achieve greatness. And I find that a lot of times the few people that we worked with that were able to see it from that angle, they've also grown because we've grown.
Yeah.
So we're able to say, look, and so many times I will see something, I'll see an installation process and I'll send it to them and say, look at this thing. Isn't it interesting how this? We can do it now. We even have this thing. Guess what? The next thing you see, their own process is better. So you see that their own craftsmanship is also growing as we are also developing ourselves. But I think that, again, the interior designer is the adult in the relationship. So what that means is that we can never let them feel oppressed or used. And if they do feel that way, the onus is on us is to disabuse that thought, that feeling. We have to make sure that we treat with honor. We hear them out. A lot of times we go into these things with this sense of like, I will tell you how to do it. Don't tell me how to do it. I think it's wrong. I think because if we looked at it from a place of synergy, what happens is that you look at it and say, this is what I want to do.
Right.
How do you think we can achieve it? They tell us how they think they can achieve it. We see that maybe there's a bit of a area that needs tweaking. And the approach is, what if we did it like this? And sometimes you're met with a block, a resistance that says, no, it cannot be done. All the ones I've ever done, this is how we've done it. Then another approach is then to say, okay, you know what? Should we try it on a small area? If it doesn't work, I'll take responsibility. But I want you to want it to work. Sometimes I even ask them, I was like, okay, you say it won't work. How can it work? Tell me how it can work. At the end, this is what I want to achieve. So if you treat them with that sense of, I know that you're intelligent. I know that you've done this over and over again. I know that this is a specialty. I'm not coming at you because I think I know it. I'm coming for us to work together because I want us to achieve something that is great. It changes the approach. So I think that there's a place of just honoring them, that I find that we don't do as much.
So have you ever had the challenge of, okay, you've done all these things you've spoken about, yet you're still not getting the kind of response that you feel this should draw from the person? If you've ever had that, how did you deal with those situations?
Oh, no. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're different.
We're different.
The way people receive things are different. Some people, you share that information, you share that style with them, and they look at you and think that
you walk over.
do you understand? So for them, they're just like, don't worry, this one does not know anything. Maybe she's a jebot herself. You know, they'll think that that's what's happening, and that's why you're like that. Or they'll say, oh, this one, they don't know how to do it. This is not how we do it here. So yes, does that happen? But sometimes those kind of people, there is the option of saying, you know what, it's okay. We don't need to work together like this.
Together, right?
And it's not everybody you invest in, because it's an investment. It takes time.
It takes time. Yes,
so it's not everybody you invest in. Sometimes you invest in a lot of people that you feel like, I'm going to have repeat work with you.
Yeah.
If you're a one-off work, I will still respect you. I will still treat you with honor, but I may not go into a lot of like conversation, because that's also something else I do. Like, I'd go into conversation. Oh, how's your wife? How's your children? And what's going on? Let me know what's happening. Keep me posted. You understand that kind of thing. In situations where I can attend their events, I will go. But for me, that's an investment. But I won't do that level of investment with everybody.
Definitely.
And so if I try my approach with you and you still decide that, and it happens quite a number of times, it's okay. It's fine. We win some, we lose some. But the people that have stayed with us over the years, it has helped us to be able to move as well. And remember that my driver from time is, I don't want it to revolve around me and scaling. Yeah. And because of that mindset, it means that it's important to me that I have invested as much in these people, so that when they're talking to my team,
right,
the same culture, the same mode, that same honor is translated. Yeah. So my process to my decision making is intentional, because I know where I am going.
Okay.
And that drives how I make my decisions and how I do what I want to do.
I like that.
Thank you. So when it comes to contractors, one of the things,
clarity and
so when it comes to contractors, one of the things I also do is, for us, in Teal Harmony, something we agree on, which is, if you try something, if you test it out small, if it's a loss, it's a small loss.
Yeah.
If you test it out big, if it's a big loss, it's a big, if it's a big mistake, it's a big loss. Yes. And so what that means for us is that when it comes to us getting new tradespeople, new artisans, new contractors, all the likes, we first start with small, no matter what your level of expertise is, because we're constantly onboarding people and we're always hiring. Yes. So I wouldn't say hiring in that sense, because they're not our full-time stuff, but we go through a hiring process. We go through onboarding. They have to fill forms. We have to go through all that guarantor process, And so because of that, we have a way that we qualify an artisan or a tradesperson that will work with us. So what that means is that you will not come and then land on a big project. You will be on something small. We will see you on something small. Sometimes we can have you do something and still have somebody that works with us do another, just because maybe from a timeline point of view, we can't afford to.
You can't afford any mistake. Would slow your timeline down.
So we end up now saying, so we have a control one, and then we have you produce yours. Now, if you end up doing what it is that you want to do, and we see that you're good, we're like, oh, fantastic, we nailed it with this person. And for us, it's what you call research and development, as far as we're concerned, because we look at that cost as a method of
building the team,
and we end up not having to have people that don't do good work on a client project, and that's where we're now testing them out from. And so that helps us to be able to onboard contractors from that level. And then also there are things around like maybe payment plans. we also make sure that they fill out forms for us. We try to have meetings with our artisans, just to hear them out as well.
So let me take you back a bit. So have you ever had the experience that, oh, when he did the small thing, it was so good, but then you now gave him a major thing? And have you ever had that happen?
Maybe in the early days, but now not as much. Also because now what we do, we have multiple stages of quality control. Before the final. So what that means is that when something is still, let's say for example, is still in production. So let's say it's a metal work that is still in production. What would happen is that we go during the different phases of that production to see.
Check.
So what happens is that we don't get surprised on site.
Okay.
So because we have gone to check, we have seen that this person is going wrong. Let's go and look for a new way. So automatically we quickly redress, you know. And in some situations, we've had situations where maybe the thing actually did get to site and it was, there were errors in it.
Yeah.
One of the things we also do, and that's why we also try to have dedicated site managers for our projects. So the rule is that if it gets to site and it's not good,
take it out immediately.
Quickly, like nobody else sees it, you know, because at the end of the day, you want to earn the trust. The client has already given you trust by giving you that project. You don't want them to see something and then they now get worried about everything else. So yeah, but as much as possible, we try to make sure that before it gets to site. But we had a bad situation recently where somebody that we have worked with for years, that knows our style, knows our method, but also he's growing. And so what that means is that, and that's one of the things we like we want our tradespeople, subcontractors, all of those people to grow with us.
Yeah.
So what's happening is they now start hiring people, they have larger teams. But what had happened was that he had not paid attention. So he had given it to his team. They came, they installed, but we now found out that in the process of trying to, and honestly, you know, I would say that because he had worked with us for a long time, there are some people we don't do that intervention of going multiple times because you're like, this person knows us. This person had worked with us for like maybe 7 years.
Wow.
Do you get? So he's a member of our team. He got married with us. He's had kids with us. So as far as we're concerned,
he knows
what do you understand? Yes. And this still happened. Obviously, it was a sad one. So excuse me, it was a sad one. But what it meant for us was that we now decided that, you know what, no matter who it is, no matter how long they have been with us, that process that we have put in place now applies to all. No more like, oh, you've worked with us long enough, then that's fine.
Yeah.
It applies to all. The difference is rather than going maybe 2 to 3 times to check, maybe with this person it's 1 time before installation, you know. But yeah, you know, and I always say that an organization is a living organism.
Yeah.
And because it's a living organism, it means that
it's growing. Yeah.
Yes. And if it keeps growing, there are new things that keep coming
up.
So those new things that keep coming up, you're always looking for different ways to solve for them. So yeah.
You know, all I hear is structure, processes, and you know, you've been able to build a system over time. Before you had this system, how was it? And what made you decide that I must build this system? And what was the process of building the system like? So I'm asking you like 3 questions in one.
I love it. Interestingly, what made me realize that I needed a system was because, so before I started Teal Harmony, I'd heard about this entrepreneurship course at Lagos Business School, right?
Okay.
And I'd wanted to go for it.
And knowledge.
So when I wanted to go for it, the first couple I didn't have enough money to be able to pay for it.
Right.
But it was always there. And then the people at the sales end too, they tormented me. They would call me, oh, we have a new cohort starting soon. I'm like, okay, can you? So finally, they were able to let me do, the one I did, they allowed me to pay in, I think it was 2 or 3 installments.
Okay.
So I was excited. So I went. Now, the first day, because it's 1 week on, then I think 2 weeks off, then 1 week on. So that 1 week they teach you, then
Okay.
you get the 2 weeks to go and apply whatever it is
What
that
you've
they've
been
taught
taught.
you, and then you get the next week.
Hmm.
That 1 week, I did not learn anything.
Okay.
That was my wake up call, because when I was in class, my phone kept ringing. As I was in class, this one will call me. And so this thing, what size should we do it? I will say, do it at 400. Do video, let me see. Okay, put it like this. I'll go back. Accountants will call me. Ma, we need to make this payment, but I say, okay, let me quickly pay it. Then artisan will call me. Madam, we're here, but this thing has happened. Literally, I was going in and out of class, for one. But by the time I'd done it,
and that can be very stifling.
I didn't learn anything. Yeah. I remember that it's 3 payments I used to collect this course. So
you can't waste.
And do you understand? The money cannot just go like that. And it was so. But I love that course also, because what he did was that they used me as an example of see why this is necessary. So what I had to do was to leave class that 1 week and deferred the whole thing.
Wow.
I had to defer the whole thing because it wasn't possible. There was no way I could learn under that circumstance. It wasn't possible. But that was the wake-up call that I needed to say, you know what, I need to go back, put some things in place that can allow me to actually learn. So that was where that started from. And I started researching, how do you do processes? How do you do standard operating procedures? All of those things, so that I could go back to class and
without
actually be able to learn.
Yeah.
And so that was where it started from.
So what was the process like? Putting the process in place.
So what was it like? The first thing for me was, how do I make sure that the number of calls I receive was reduced? So I had to then pick up different aspects. I'm like, and it took a while. I had to pick up because I'm like, okay, this person called me for this. What was the alternative? And I started writing. I started writing down the process. And as I was writing, I would see that, this doesn't make sense. I will go and do some research and see, how are other people doing it? And not necessarily from an interior design point of view. Yeah. I was looking at processes from different industries, from architecture, from construction, from different processes. I would look at, from different industries. I'll look at, what can I do in this area for this person to not call me? And so I started doing that. And in doing that, I started refining as we executed. I'd say that, okay, this caused even more chaos than it brought solution. Okay, let's do that. And then as I did that, I started mapping it into different departments and saying, okay, this is, and at the time I really didn't have I had a very small team. At the time was myself, I had an accountant, had 2 site managers, and I had an architect. That was it. So even in mapping out those departments, it wasn't that I had the departments ready. Yeah. But I knew that this was how. So from a procurement point of view, if we want to make procurement, what's the process? What's the first thing? What's the second thing? What's the third thing? What's the fourth thing? And then in doing that process, I now realized that, okay, there's some aspects that we needed to have SOPs that guides whoever is buying, so that they know that, okay, these are the things to look out for. This is how we buy. And then from there, you now look at, okay, what are our payment terms? Okay. For, so if we're procuring, what are payment terms? If it was an artisan, what are payment terms? For a subcontractor, what are payment terms? And so payment terms
I
became
guess you
sort of like
built
an
a
SOP out
supplier
of
list too.
exactly. So we did a supplier list, and then you now start applying grading suppliers, your A grade, your B grade, your C grade, depending on the size of the project, the budget of the project. Those were then determinants on who was getting on what. So yeah.
So from what I hear now, you sat down, took your time
Oh yes.
to literally build
Yes.
the
Took a
process.
very long time.
Yeah. So was there at any point, did you bring anybody in at any point to help you fine tune, or you just kept refining?
Oh yes. I've had multiple people. I've had multiple. I've had marketing consultants, I have had finance consultants, I've had operations consultants, I've had HR consultants, I've had consultants. I've worked with like and typically
And what has your experience been?
so my
with them?
experience I find is that again, because interior design is such an interesting industry,
Kind of dynamic.
yes, and there isn't as many companies for them to even use as reference points. First, you need to know what it is that you want, so that when they
Yeah.
prefer solutions to you,
It's actually solving your problem.
yes, you can also guide them. So the idea is a consultant comes with a more generalist say, okay, how about this? How about that? How about this? How about that? And then you that you're in it are like able to say, okay, I think this would work, but we would have to switch it this way for it to be able to apply to us. But I find that if you do not do your homework
Work
first and you just bring a consultant on board, you don't get the best out of it, because the consultant too is consulting for many other businesses. So yes, they will do their research, but chances are they're also on other businesses. So they may not be able to give you as detailed a solution as you need. Whereas
For
if you
your-
know, like, oh, this is the problem I'm having, and then as they're doing their research, you're also doing your research, and you're able to come to them to say, okay, well, I hear you on this, but could we explore this? This another angle, then it helps to find a solution to the problem. The mistake would be to just say, oh, I have a consultant.
And
Yeah, you should
fix
just,
it.
fix it. They may fix it, but it may not be the solution for the problem.
Yeah.
They may fix it, and the fixing can just be like a bandage as opposed to actually
Curing the wound.
Yeah, so yeah.
I get that. So one of the things that I've heard you talk about is you had an accountant from when you started.
Yes.
Now you're one person that I think, well, I haven't talked to everybody in the industry, but a lot of us just jump in with passion. Like, you even started with the foundation, and you saying you were particular about your numbers when you started. For a lot of us, we just keep swinging it. How has that helped in building the business?
Oh, so let me tell you for free, like, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time before I started interior design. But I won't say that I'll say a businesswoman. Or I don't know what to call it.
At least you've been in the
so
game,
so I sold fabrics
Okay.
at some point. I've sold things, I remember when I was at University of Lagos, I used to sell boom boxes.
So there's been a journey.
Yes, I used to sell boom boxes. I remember when I went for this Abuja housing show exhibition, and as I was there, somebody greeted me, and I'd forgotten that aspect of my life. I used to sell recharge cards.
Whoa.
And at that time, I remember,
Really?
yes, and I remember that at that time, the person that was my staff at the time was older than me, a mother with a child.
Right.
So from that, I've sort of like been managing people regardless of age range or age group, right? Now, when I started Teal Harmony, I didn't always have an accountant.
Okay.
But again, I have my BS is in mathematics.
Oh,
So I do have a sense of numbers to a certain degree.
good for you.
So yes,
Honestly.
those have that has come in handy. And then also, when you think about that, I remember that my first accountant was from NYSC. I actually had to write to NYSC to ask for an accountant because I couldn't afford a full-time accountant. Now, this accountant that came to me is from school, so she's very green as well.
Yeah.
So it helped that I had a sense of numbers to a certain degree. And my first introduction to numbers, which is your profit and loss and balance sheet statement, also came from the fact that I'd gone for the business course.
Yeah.
So that helped. But how has that shaped us as a business? I think it's tremendously shaped us. Because what it is that, as designers, it got to a point where the team don't like me on projects anymore because
you end up spending the money that was never in the budget.
Yes, because you're on the project and you're just like, nah, this thing can't fly. It's okay. Let's just give it more money. Don't worry. We'll get money from here and put it here. We will do it, because the project needs to come out well. And we did that for quite a bit, but then we now realized that we needed to have a more sustainable way of doing it because we found out that it always arises. So if it always arises, what's a sustainable way to make sure that we always accommodate for like the extras that will come on?
When the storm comes, I won't fall through the fire. You hold it all, even when I can't see the road. I still believe, I still hold on, and you called my name. She rises. She's been through the fire, through the rain, carried every scar, every pain, but she never let it take a name. No, she's stronger than yesterday. Every tear that fell in the night turned to power, turned to light. Now she's standing in her truth. There's nothing she can do. No more hiding, no more fear. This is her moment, she is here. Every voice that tried to break her down couldn't take her crown. She's unbreakable, unshakable, rising higher than before. She's unstoppable, undeniable. Now she's walking through the door. Every story, every scar made her into who she is. Now she's shining like a star. She's unbreakable. She won't fall again. She will rise again. This is her voice, this is her fight, this is her moment, this is her life.